Well, that's a really interesting question. I think a lot of times when people imagine the role of fact-checking, they think that the idea is to convince people not to believe in lies, or else it's to stop politicians from lying. And of course, that rarely happens. We know that it's really difficult to get people to change their minds, and it's really difficult to convince a politician not to stretch the truth when they have some political advantage, in exaggerating or in distorting the facts. But really, fact-checking operates sort of in a number of different levels to sort of support democratic deliberation. So one is that evidence shows that fact-checking does have an effect in convincing some people to not to believe a falsehood. And sometimes it encourages politicians to speak more cautiously. If they know that there are fact-checkers out there, then sometimes they're more careful with their rhetoric. But also, fact-checkers work really hard to support other democratic institutions. So, for example, fact-checkers really work to influence the press, so that other media outlets also, don't repeat falsehoods that politicians are making in political debates, for instance. Fact-checkers also work with the big social media companies, the big platform companies, to help identify and reduce the circulation of disinformation. And a lot of times they work really directly with public institutions at the level of national governments, or even at the level of transnational institutions like the EU, to help develop good policies around disinformation, and to help advise policymakers about what are the best ways to approach this threat. Because really it's the fact-checkers who see day to day how these narratives evolve, and who understand what sources they're coming from and so on. So that's a great question, and the truth is that there's not really a very clear scientific consensus about that. So there have been just countless studies that measure through experiments the effects that fact-checking has, in changing people's minds. And in general, they show that it does have an effect, but that it's hardest to convince people when a certain claim is closely tied to their identity, to their sense of which groups they belong to, right? So a really good example is the so-called big lie that the 2020 election in the United States was stolen by Joe Biden. The people who continue to believe that lie are those who see it as forming part of their political identity. It's not even easy to say whether or not they truly believe it, or whether it's just a way of expressing their loyalty to a figure like Donald Trump, right? So it's hardest to convince people to change their minds when that involves, challenging some core identity. But there are many other people who are genuinely looking for new information, who want to be able to understand public issues better. And so those are the audiences where fact-checkers could be more effective. I think really when it comes to expanding that circle of people, we have to turn from fact-checking more towards areas like media literacy, to sort of better prepare people from an early age to understand the perils of the media environment that they navigate every day, and to sort of establish good habits of distinguishing good information from bad information.